right, so picture this. You're in the hot seat. It's your dream SRE job on the line. And the questions, they're coming in hot, one after the other. They're not just testing what you know, but how you think when the pressure's on. So let's get into it and walk through some of the trickiest questions you might actually face.
And, the scenarios we're about to dig into, they aren't just made up. They come from real experience, like from being on the other side of the table for literally hundreds and hundreds of interviews. This is the stuff that really separates a good candidate from a great one. It's that real-world insight.
Okay, first up, we've got a classic, a networking and security problem. The interviewer hits you with this. Now, the key words you got to latch onto here are secure and end-to-end. See, they're not just asking, can the user connect? They're asking, can they connect safely without anything being exposed along the way?
So my first thought here is we've got to lock this down with a fully encrypted path. And that means one thing, end-to-end SSL. See, a lot of setups just encrypt traffic to the load balancer, and then it travels unencrypted from there to the server. No, we're not doing that. We're going to install the SSL certs right on the servers themselves. That way, the data is scrambled and secure all the way from the user's browser to the actual application.
And here's the thing that takes your answer to the next level. You have to talk about the trade-offs, always. By suggesting end-to-end SSL, yeah, I'm showing that I'm all about security. But I also have to mention the flip side, that there's a performance cost. All that encryption and decryption has to happen somewhere, and now it's happening on our servers, which means they're going to use more CPU and more memory. It's about showing you get that there's no free lunch.
To really build on that point, I'd ask a follow-up question. I'd say, hey, what kind of load balancer are we even talking about here? Is it a network load balancer, the layer 4 kind that's super fast but kind of dumb? Or is it an application load balancer at layer 7, which is way smarter and can actually look at the HTTP request to make routing decisions? It really matters because my next move might change depending on which one it is.
And finally, before I wrap up, I bring it all the way back to the simplest thing, DNS. You gotta check the DNS. Is the CNAME record, the alias, even pointing to the right load balancer? I know it sounds simple, but you would be shocked how many times that's the real problem. And hey, while you're at it, mentioning you'd also glance at MX or TXT records, that just shows you really get the whole picture.
Okay, looks like we did good on that one. So the interviewer pivots. They throw a big security problem at you. But listen closely to how they phrase it, without using a costly network firewall. That's the hint right there. They're testing if you know your cloud-native tools and if you're thinking about the budget. My immediate answer here is a WAF, a web application firewall. That is absolutely the right tool for this job. Why? Because it's literally designed to sit there and inspect all the web traffic, the HTTP and HTTPS stuff, and it can block things based on really smart rules, not just a simple IP address. And this is exactly why a WAF is so much better than, say, a network ACL for this problem. I mean, sure, you could try to block an entire country with an ACL, but you'd be sitting there manually adding thousands, maybe tens of thousands of IP ranges. It's not going to happen. A WAF, though, it has geo-blocking built right in. You literally just pick the country from a dropdown, click block, and you're done. So much smarter. All this talk about blocking and allowing, it brings us right to the heart of cloud security, which is IAM policies. When you look under the hood, an IAM policy is really just a simple JSON file, and the most important piece in that file is the effect. It boils down to one simple choice. Are you going to allow this action, or are you going to deny it? That's it. That's the foundation of everything. And here is the #1 rule of IAM, and you gotta remember this. Deny always wins. Always. I don't care if you have 100 different allow policies trying to grant access. If there is just one explicit deny statement anywhere in the chain, on the user, the group, the role, it's game over. Access is denied. That rule trumps everything. Okay, the interview shifts gears again. Now we're into the real bread and butter SRE stuff. A VM is down. It's unresponsive. This is the classic the server is on fire problem. What they're looking for here is a calm, logical, step-by-step process. No freaking out. So here's my 4-step playbook, and I'm starting with the easiest, least disruptive things first. Step 1, check the network security group rules. Is a simple firewall rule just blocking me? Step 2, I'll jump on another machine in the same network and try to telnet to the port. Is the service even listening? Step 3, let's look at the logs. I'll check the serial console to see if the machine is throwing any errors during boot. And then, and only then, if all that fails, my last resort is to redeploy the VM. That actually kicks it over to a brand new physical machine, which can fix all sorts of weird hardware problems.
And to really show I'm thinking like an SRE, I'm not just going to talk about fixing the problem, I'm going to talk about preventing it from ever happening again. That means talking about high availability. You've got availability sets, which are good. They protect you if a server rack fails inside one data center. But then you have availability zones, which are way better. They protect you if an entire data center goes offline because your stuff is running in completely separate buildings with their own power, their own cooling, the whole 9 yards. That's how you build for resilience. All right, excellent. Now we're moving on to the topic that's pretty much central to any modern SRE role, Kubernetes. This next question, it's all about the fundamentals. The interviewer wants to know if you really get the different layers and how they all work together. This is a big one.
The best way to explain this is to start from the ground up. And at the very bottom of the Kubernetes world, you have the pod. Think of it as the atom, the smallest possible thing you can create and manage. It's basically just a little bubble that holds one or more of your application containers. It's the actual running process. So how do all these pieces connect? Well, here's the hierarchy. At the top, you create a deployment. That's your instruction manual. You tell it, hey, I want 3 copies of my app running this specific version. The deployment doesn't make the pods itself. Instead, it turns around and creates a replica set. The replica set's only job in life is to make sure that the number of pods you want is always running. Then finally, it's the replica set that actually creates and manages those individual pods. So to put it another way, the deployment is what you talk to. It's the smart, high-level thing that gives you all the cool features like zero downtime updates and easy rollbacks. But it's the replica set that's the tireless worker bee under the hood, constantly watching, and if a pod ever dies, it's the replica set that instantly spins up a new one to replace it. And now for the final question. This one isn't about code or configs. It's about you. It's about your process, your mindset, and how you handle yourself when everything is on fire. This kind of behavioral question tells an interviewer so much about what you'll really be like on the job. My answer here is all about process, not panic. First things first, stick to the established incident management playbook. Don't go rogue. Second, you have to prioritize, and fast. Which incident is having a bigger impact on customers or the business? That's the one you tackle first. Third, and this is absolutely critical, you have to over-communicate. Keep sending updates on the status of both incidents so nobody is in the dark. And lastly, and this is maybe the most important part, don't be a hero. If you can't handle both, you escalate immediately. That's not failure, that's being a responsible engineer. See, at the end of the day, crushing an SRE interview isn't about having a cheat sheet of answers. It's about showing them how you think. Can you stay calm? Can you think logically? Can you connect the technical details to the business impact? That's what they're looking for. So the real question isn't just what you know. It's, are you ready to show it?